Greetings and salutations. Let me try something here. Is that better? Side view rather than the long view? I don't know. Anyway, I learned a valuable lesson today. My face is kind of broke out a little bit, as you can see. Actually, it's pretty bad. The camera ain't showing it up very much, but in person, it's pretty bad. And I found out today that when you are in the Midwest, riding around town, smoking a pipe, with your face all broke out like this, makes people think you're a meth head. I got a lot of like goofy looks today, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I kind of caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and how broke out my face is, and I was like, and I had the pipe in my mouth, and I was like, holy shit, they think I'm like a freaking drug addict or a meth head or something. Just a little lesson. So I did a mud mask, and hopefully I'm going to clear this up. That time of the month, my face always breaks out. That time of the month. So today, I had a request to do a video on more clarity of collecting dirt. I gotta refill it. I don't feel like doing it right now. Okay, so yeah, I got a request. Got a request to reiterate more on dirt, and because my last video, I went, or not my last video, but the previous video, I went a little bit about collecting dirt from your ancestors, and I kind of just glossed over that there are rules to collecting dirt, especially graveyard dirt, but I didn't like go into that subject. So some people were requesting to go into that subject in more detail. So dirts are very, very versatile in hoodoo and conjure work. You can use dirt from just about anywhere for just about anything. But as I stated in the very first video I ever did, it's called Payment and Spirits, Universal Law. NILF. N-I-L-F. Nothing in life is free. Dirt is not free. That root is not free. That branch on that tree is not free. That flower is not free. Those leaves on that herb are not free. Nothing in life is free. Everything must be compensated and paid for. So we'll put that out there again because some people are not understanding this. When it comes to dirt, they're very versatile and conjure. You can, like I said, you can collect dirt from just about anywhere. I always carry baggies in my car at all times, so in case I'm near somewhere or I wind up somewhere and I want some dirt, I got the baggies and I can get dirt from that place. Just a few examples. You could take dirt from like a hospital or a doctor's office and use it in a healing work or a mojo or a gree or something. Crosswords dirt, I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. That's good for road opening works. It's also good for banishing works, because crossroads are usually very busy, so busy movement is like banishment. Okay, so crossroads dirt is good for that, or any like busy highway or road would be good for that. What else? You can use bank dirt for prosperity. You can use casino dirt for gambling, luck, and like stuff like that. You can collect dirt from pretty much anywhere and think of a way to use it. You can collect dirt from a very prosperous business, and use that. Like if you have your own business, if you could take it from somebody somewhere else that's like very prosperous and use that to like draw customers into your own business. I mean, you can come up with a million ways to use all different kinds of dirts. But you have to pay for them, okay? Dirt is not free. Nothing in life is free. So, with that said, I'm going to go into a little bit. Now, graveyard dirt has a lot more rules and stigmas and taboos when it comes to collecting graveyard dirt. So I'm going to go a little bit into that. Now, some people might do this a little bit different. I'm just going to tell you the way I collect graveyard dirt, okay? And I take a lot of precaution because, if I said in previous videos, I'm like extremely attracted to spirits, and they follow me home from places all the time. So I personally have to be really careful and cautious when I visit a cemetery. So, this is across the board for everyone. If you're going to a cemetery, you should cover your head with a hat, with a scarf, with some kind of cloth, a bandana. You should have your head covered because the spirits can like get in your head. Okay, and a covering helps that. And it should technically be white, but really any kind of color is fine as long as your head is covered. Someone else addressed this today on another post about covering your head. It's also good if you're going somewhere where you know there's a lot of spirit activity, like if you're going to like a botanica where you know there's a lot of people in there that are like visiting because they're having spiritual issues and shit. You want to protect yourself from that, so like you want to cover your head. If you're visiting a conjure shop or a botanica or a psychic reader, a tarot reader, like any of those kind of people, you want to cover your head when you walk into that place. And cemeteries is no different. There's a lot of spirit activity in cemeteries, so you want to cover your head. And that's across the board for anybody, male or female, anybody that's visiting. I don't care if you're going to a funeral, you should wear a hat. In fact, they have hats called funeral hats, because you should wear your head, cover your head when you like visit a cemetery, period, across the board. So what I do personally, of course I cover my head, and I have one cemetery in particular that I really like visiting. It's extremely old. It's like from the early 1800s. And when I first moved out here to Missouri, like this cemetery immediately attracted me. It's caught my eye. And I really like that cemetery. So when you first get to the cemetery, you want to park your car or if you're riding a bike or even if you're just walking, whatever, go to the cemetery, go to the gate, okay? And even if it doesn't have like a closed gate, most cemeteries will have some kind of entry point that like acts as a gate. Even if it's just like a wall with an opening, that's your gate. So you're going to go to the gate, and when you get to the gate, you're going to state your purpose. And because there's so many different spirits of the cemetery, and depending on what tradition you follow or what you're initiated in, it depends on who you're going to talk to when you get to that gate, because there's always a gatekeeper at the cemetery. In like Voodoo, it's like Baron Lacroix, or Baron Cimetière. They would be the guardians of the gate. Some people might say it's Papa Legba in that tradition. If you're Christian or Catholic or follow that kind of thing, it might be like St. Peter that guards, because he's the gatekeeper. But there's always like a guardian of the gate of the cemetery. So when you get to the gate, before you enter the gate, you want to state your purpose for visiting the cemetery. So you want to say like, I'm here to pay my respects to the dead. I'm here to ask permission. And you want to say ask permission. Don't tell them what you're going to do. Okay, that's rude. You're like walking into someone else's house and saying, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's pretty rude. Okay. So you basically want to say what you want to do. You say, I would like to collect some dirt today. I am asking permission to enter this gate and go about my task of collecting dirt, and then you leave a payment at the gate. This is usually in the form of like pennies. You might want to have a cigar on you and like smoke and, you know, blow some smoke around the gate as payment too. I always personally take a cigar with me. I take money, like coins. I also take joss paper money, which is sometimes called hell notes or ancestor money. I will show you what it is. Okay, so when you go to the cemetery, like I said, I always take coins. I usually take like pennies and stuff for payment, but I also take joss paper with me as payment. This kind right here is called hell notes, and they're actually, as you can tell, from Asian orientation. And you can see right here it says Bank of Hell, Bank Hell Note. And the Asians, this doesn't mean like hell, like Christian hell, okay? The Asians have a completely different way of looking at hell. And this is not like evil money for demons in hell or something. This is for your ancestors, and this is what they use it for, and for spirits, for spirit payment. I use these in many ways. I usually burn a couple each week for my ancestors. I'll light them on fire and mix the ashes in with their incense and stuff, and that's an offering to them. I leave them in like their offering bowl whole. I offer them as well. Now you can also get ones like these. These are American. It's called Joss, J-O-S-S, Joss paper money. And these are a large denomination, they're $100, and these are 100 too. And these come in all kinds of denominations you can get. I give these too at the cemetery as payment. I also use these in like prosperity and money work and stuff. They're good to like write petitions on if you're doing a prosperity work or something. You write your petition on these, and then you can burn it or like fold it up and do your whatever you do with it. So that's Joss money, but I always take these with me to the cemetery. So when I go to collect graveyard dirt, I take a cigar, I take actual coin money, usually like pennies, but sometimes I don't have pennies, I'll take dimes or nickels or something. Joss money, and I always take some rum with me as well. So when you leave your payment at the gate, you might want to blow some smoke around with your cigar and pour libation on the ground with your rum. This is what I do. And I pour libation at the gate with the rum. And I thank the guardian of the gate for allowing me to enter and giving me permission. Then your work actually starts. Then you have to find suitable graves for what you want your dirt for. Okay, so what the purpose is of what you want to do with it is the kind of dirt you want to collect. There's so many different like traditions on this. Like a really traditional way is 9, because 9 is a very sacred number. So if you're doing like a benevolent work with it, like you're just communicating with the dead and kind of doing some necromancy and stuff, you would want dirt from 9 different graves, and they should probably be women. I use a lot of women when I do benevolent and mortus and necromancy kind of work. So it should be from 9 separate graves, and one of them should be the grave of a baby, like a child. So I usually do like 9. Like I do 8 women, and then I'll get 1 from a child. And that's for like benevolent kind of work with graveyard dirt. Now if you're wanting to do a more malevolent kind of work with the graveyard dirt, then you would want dirt from 9 criminals. And of course, you know, a lot of us don't know if the people were criminals, what they died of, if they were murdered. This is where communication comes in hand. You got to spend a lot of time in the cemetery and actually talking to each like grave that you're attracted to. You automatically be attracted to some when you walk in there. Like a couple will like catch you right away, and you'd be like, "Ooh, I want that one." But you need to speak with that spirit. Okay, and you gotta try and be a little intuitive. I know it's hard. Like, I don't have a lot of communication at the graveyards. But definitely, like, look at their names, look at the year they were born and the year they died. And even if you know anything about those years, like the 1800s graveyard that I like to visit, that's very prominent of, like, tuberculosis, smallpox, Civil War. Oh, and while we're going into that, if you want graveyard dirt for, like, protection, you cannot get better protection than soldiers. If you get soldiers on your side, they will, like, fight, like, tooth and nail for your ass, okay? So I also like to keep dirt from soldiers' graves on handy, too, for, like, uses in protection. Protection works, protection gree-gree, mojo, you know, stuff like that. I will use the soldiers' dirt in it. But soldiers are a little bit different when you're petitioning. Well, I don't know if they're actually different. When you find a grave, okay, you find a grave that you like, and you ask permission. You always ask permission every time you go to a grave. You tell them your purpose, what you want to do with it, and if they are willing to help you in your work, in this work that you want their dirt for, okay? And you kind of want to listen for an answer, and then if they agree, then you get your dirt, and you make payment. You give the coins, you give smoke, you pour some rum on their grave. I also leave a joss paper bill, like, on the graves that I take dirt from, which is probably really, you know, like, the cemetery guy that, like, takes care of the graveyard's probably, like, wondering why there's, like, fake money on a bunch of the graves, but I do that, you know. That's another form of payment. That's... Hell notes, I mean, they're basically the basic premises of it, and that's why you burn it. But you can also offer it whole. You don't have to burn it. It's like giving the dead money, currency to use in their realm. Okay, that's kind of the point of it. Because, you know, they have needs too where they're at. So you're kind of like paying them. You're giving them payment. And so their needs can be fulfilled too. So they're like fulfilling your needs. You're fulfilling their needs. It's an even trade. It's balance, as I'm always talking about. So, yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to ask for permission. Now, personally, I like my very favorite graves to collect dirt from, which is probably not the best way some of you should do it, because I'm a little bit more connected than maybe some of you. Some of you may be more connected than me. I don't know. But my favorite thing to do with collecting dirt is I like to find the oldest, most neglected graves. Like ones that are grown over, ones that are so that, you know, like some of them, like the stones are totally broke off. You have no idea who they are. They're totally forgotten. Some of them are so old and like corroded and decayed you can't read the stone. Stuff like that. Those kinds of spirits are so old and so neglected and so forgotten that they are just so happy when someone pays attention to them. Okay, and those kind of spirits are usually very, very eager to do whatever you want them to do. And they usually will happily give permission, you know, to do what you want them to do, with taking the dirt and everything, the work you want to accomplish with them. They're usually very willing to do what you want them to do. Not all the time, but usually. Because you think, I mean, they're so old and so, you know, they probably have no family, obviously, that brings them flowers or tends to their graves, obviously. They're just forgotten. They're forgotten, and they just are so happy and so excited when someone pays attention to them and remembers them. You know, it's really, I mean, that's, you know, that's my thing. I just really like doing that, and I find that those are the most eager to do work for you. So, okay, and then we're going to talk about leaving the cemetery. Okay, so you went and you got all the dirt that you're going to get, and you asked permission, and you paid for each dirt. Each dirt you take, each grave you take dirt from, you're going to pour the rum, you're going to do a smoke. If you're doing a cigar, you're at least going to leave some pennies, or some Joss paper money, or something. I sometimes leave candy, too, like a food payment. Like I'll take like a bag of M&Ms with me, and I'll leave, you know, like a handful of M&Ms on each grave that I take dirt from as like a food offering. And leaving the cemetery, now this is where personally I have to be really careful, because like I said, spirits follow me home. When I leave the cemetery, and I know some other traditions do this too, I actually leave the cemetery backwards. I walk backwards out of the cemetery. Like physically, like I walk backwards. Not that I leave in a backwards route from the way I came. I actually walk backwards out of the cemetery until I get to so I can make sure that nothing is jumping on my back, nothing is following me. Until I get to the gate. And when I get to the gate, I again give thanks to the gatekeeper. I might drop a couple more pennies. I might drop some M&Ms, pour some more rum on the ground, blow some more smoke, and I walk backwards the whole way to my car. I don't turn my back on the spirits in the cemetery. And I've covered this in another video on why you never turn your back to spirits. This is usually pertaining in a temple or in your own home if you have spirit altars. Stuff like that. You never want to turn your back on a spirit because they can jump on your back. But me personally in the cemetery, I do that too because like I said, they have followed me home from all over the place. So I never turn my back on the cemetery. I walk the whole way to my car backwards and never take my eye off the cemetery because I don't want anything following me home. Oh, before you go in, I forgot. After you cover your head, you know, before you actually go into the gate, I usually like to put some protection on me. I will either use like protection oil, fiery wall of protection oil. I will use Florida water. Now, Florida water's iffy because yes, it's protection, but it's also very attractive to spirits. So unless you have some kind of filter there, Florida water might not be the best thing to use. I have a Palo Santo cologne. That's very good for that. So I actually carry that in like a spray bottle in my purse. So if I'm going in somewhere, I can just like spray that on myself. And like you kind of want to protect yourself before you enter somewhere that's going to have a lot of activity. A botanica, a conjure shop, a cemetery, funeral home, anything that's going to have like a lot of spirit activity. You want to protect yourself before you walk in there. Like I'm aware of some buildings in town that I go into are very active, so I always, before I go in, I'll sit in my car and I will spray myself with the colognes, or I'll carry oil and anoint myself with the oil for protection before I go in these places. So yeah, I think that just about covers how to collect graveyard dirt and dirts in general. I don't think I forgot anything. I thought there was one more thing I wanted to add to it. Oh, like I said in a previous video, when it comes to your ancestors, you still have to go through all these steps. Okay, you go through all these steps, but then there's a couple more steps when it comes to your ancestors. I went through it real quick in a previous video. Like I always said, it's customary to like wait a year and a day before you go back to a cemetery and collect dirt. You make sure they're in the ground for a year and a day before you go back to get their dirt. Yeah, but just like any other spirit, you're going to ask their permission, you're going to leave offerings, you know, all that good stuff. So yeah, some of you might want to say a prayer or a psalm or something when you collect the dirt to like thank the spirit. You know, this is just the way I do it. So you can do it your way. This is just like some general rules to collecting graveyard dirt and some precautions that are probably good to take, especially if you're new to this, or you're like me and you're like extremely attractive to spirits and they follow you home. There's some precautions you can do. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. Like, subscribe, and share.